guilt, pressure, disrespect, limits, fears, rejection, sadness. These are some of the feelings people around you have when someone tells them no. It is because of what we feel when someone said no that we believe that no always means something negative. But if this is true, how is that I'm standing here to tell you that no can change the world? We believe there is an absolute no, when in reality there is more than a kind. I have been able to identify three: the one we tell to the people we love, the one we should tell to others, and the one we should tell yourself. But only one of them, in my experience, will be able to change the world. The hardest one to tell, the one we are all really afraid. It's actually terrified to use. The one we need to tell, yourself. We are okay saying no to our kids and the people we love because we know they will forgive us. We are okay telling them no because they will understand that we have told them no even when we have said yes to everything else, just because we are afraid of saying no to others. Society expects that you are going to say no. And in case you have any doubt, all of us are society. And we do it all the time. Interestingly, we do it inappropriately most of the time to our kids and the people we love. And we do it because we are afraid of saying no to all those people that is requesting stuff from us all the time. And when we think about saying no, we start asking ourselves, what if they think I can do it? No. I know how to say no to myself. We all here know how to say no to ourselves. Everybody here, if I ask, can bring me an example of a time they have said no to ourselves. So that cannot be the problem. And I wish to tell you it's not the problem. I wish to tell you that the problem is simply that you need to learn to say no to others and also to the people you love when it's appropriate. But the problem is way more complex than that. The problem is you need to learn to say no to yourself. Why? Because it's because of success and our need of instant satisfaction that we are unable to say no to a bigger house, to a bigger car, to a bigger vacation, and for many of us, to a bigger plate. We say no to those to whom we should say yes, and we say yes to those to whom we say no. Imagine for a second what will happen if you say no to yourself. The answer is scary. It is scary because for many of us, this has never been an option. Because society has pushed us to say yes to way more than what we should. Because we are afraid to be rejected and to be judged. Josh Billen said, half of the troubles in this life can be traced to saying no too quickly and not saying no soon enough. Let me assure you that all troubles can be traced to the fact that most of us don't know how to say no when it's appropriate. We all been there. One more glass of wine, even when we had enough. One movie or TV show, even though we should have gone to bed. One piece of cake, even when we're on a diet. Let's imagine for a second that I pass a piece of chocolate in front of you right now. How many of you are going to take it, even when you're on a diet? How many of you are going to eat it, even if I ask you not to eat it? How many of you are going to take it that don't even like chocolate because you are afraid of saying no? And the interesting thing is that we hope. Because we don't know how to say no when it's appropriate, we hope. We hope that the no to our kids is correct, that the yes to our boss is correct, and that that chocolate is not going to make you fat. So the first step is to admit that sometimes we don't know how to say no. Because how we expect to say no appropriately to others if we cannot do it with ourselves? Second step is to identify. You guys need to identify something that you need to learn to say no. Some of us can start with that chocolate. Others can stop replying email at 2 in the morning. The person next to you that can say no to vanilla ice cream before going to bed, can start with that. Please don't raise your hand. We all know who you are. The third step is to tell yourself no. And you will need to do this again and again and again. And when you think you got it, you most likely will need to do it again. It is hard, but it's the only way to do it. Years ago, my work was done on what we call a browser. So I had the luck to be online 99% of the time. The problem is I was working hours of hours of hours, and my work was behind and behind and behind. I was not admitting that I was spending hours on Facebook and Twitter and reading blogs. I was working hours of hours. But the reality is I needed to find a solution because I was spending too many hours. And the solution of working more hours, there is a moment that that solution ran out. I found a solution, and I have been sharing it for years. And if you, like me, have trouble saying no to yourself while you are in front of a browser, this may be a solution. My solution was to use 2 browsers, one for work, one for play. I didn't know how to say no to myself, so that was not an option. So my solution was work on Google Chrome and play on Apple Safari. And every time I had the urge to play, I was allowed. I just need to open another browser. But what this bring was enough conscious for me to make the decision instead of being an automatic thing. And what this allowed me to do was to learn to say no to myself and be able to say yes to my work. What this allowed me to do was to learn to work on my browser. I do this even in my mobile phone. I have Google Chrome for work and Apple Safari to play. But this is not the only time. For years, I dreamed into owning a convertible. The idea of the speed, the wind, the loud music. I had one years ago while living in California. California is an interesting place. You get more than 300 good and sunny days. The problem with that is that most of the time it was too hot to take the top down. The rest of the time, the car was too low to be comfortable in and out of that thing. I was so happy that I finally got rid of my dream convertible and got a nice hybrid SUV. The interesting thing is that the convertible dream comes back. There is something about the idea of the speed, the wind, the loud music, the good things that create on my brain, and I then want another one. Again, I needed a solution for that, and I'm up for simple solutions. So my solution was to create a list called Augusto's Do Not Need List. The first item is that convertible with a great description of the day I finally got rid of it. And believe it or not, I read that thing often. But I wish to say that there is only things that I needed to learn to say no to myself. The reality is there is more than that. And because of that, I create Augusto's Do Not Do list. The first item of that list is I will not finish a book that I do not enjoy. So after I read 30% of a book, if I'm not engaged with it, I get rid of it. There are so many good books out there. Why read one you are not enjoying? I even encourage you, almost beg you, if you're reading a book that I wrote and after 30% you don't enjoy, please stop reading it. Also, Augusto's Do Not Do list said, I will not smoke and eat my frustrations. In 2008, I was smoking a pack and a half a day. For people who like numbers, that's more than 10,950 cigarettes a year. I also weighed more than 300 pounds. 5 years ago, I quit smoking. And I will lie to you if I tell you that there are days that I don't struggle telling no to myself to another cigarette. More than 150 pounds later, I need to fight myself constantly not to eat my frustrations. It is going to be hard, but we need to do it. I'm a pretty easy to distract person. So I started some time ago in the journey of found focus and concentration. The reason I discovered that focus and concentrations are our most important assets, not time. Everybody in this room has exactly the same amount of time. The difference is what we do with it. And because of that, I start my day at 4 a.m. Because I have found that at that time, focus and concentration is there. In order to do that, my first step was to quit my membership of the Owl Club. The Owl Club is these people who, like me, used to work 1 and 2 in the morning because that's when we work better. We're exhausted, but that's fine because that's when we can get silence. And instead of that, I learned that if I quit that membership and joined the 4 a.m. club, I could make it. The problem is I needed to say no to myself to go to bed late. But more importantly, to wake up when the alarm sounds. I don't know you guys, but in my case, I really go to bed with these great intentions, and my morning self never remembered those. My morning self don't know how to say no to that pesky snooze button, ever, So I needed to learn to say no to myself. And the way I did it was making the agreement at night and not in the morning. So at night, I figured out I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m, and there is no negotiation at that time. It's important that we pay attention to ourselves with this, because I've been telling you about examples of me tell myself no, and I wish to tell them, oh, it's really easy. You tell yourself no, and that's it. But if not, your mind will trick you and sabotage every attempt that you do on saying no. It's what it does well. Bruce Lee said, I feared not the man who had practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man that has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Our mind has practiced that kick way more than 10,000 times. So what is going to happen is this. You remember that person next to you that we all know who is or she is, that said that at night she can or he can say no to vanilla ice cream? Well, he's going to start saying no, and the mind is going to agree that we should stop having vanilla ice cream before bed. But it's going to make he or she believe that the reason is because at night, nothing is better than chocolate ice cream. And the reality is, we will continue having ice cream before bed. Again, our mind has kicked us more than 10,000 times. It's really good at it. It has constant practice. And it is because of that we will continue aiming for that bigger house, for that bigger car, for that bigger vacation, for that bigger plate, and for many of us, vanilla ice cream. Imagine for a moment if we can teach no to our kids. Imagine how their adolescent days are going to be. Imagine we can tell no to our boss for that unreasonable request. How less stress are we going to have? Let's be clear. I'm not saying the answer is always no. I'm saying we need to learn to say no when it's appropriate. I don't want people to see you in the street and say, oh, look, that's Mr. and Miss No. Okay? I want people to see you in the street and know that you can say no when it's appropriate. Big difference. So the question is, can no change the world? And the answer is yes. Can no change the world? Yes. But it needs to start in yourself. You need to learn to say no to yourself. You need to practice. You need to strengthen the muscle. You need to do it constantly. You need to understand that a no to ourselves will give us a yes to our dreams. Imagine for a moment that you can tell no to your kids, to your boss, to your parents, to your spouse, to ourselves. Imagine for a moment that we live in a world where saying no, it's understood. We're saying no to ourselves when it's appropriate is good. When saying no, it's good because we are saying yes to our dreams. If you believe in a world where you can make your dreams become a reality, then you have something really important to do. You need to teach someone how to say no when it's appropriate. I just hope that you're thinking that someone is yourself. Thank you.